Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being such a patient audience. And I know this augurs well for the rest of the evening. Do I hear a yes? Yes. Great. Help me welcome on stage Bayonne mayoral candidate for elections 2014, James Davis. Help me welcome too our mayor and candidate Mark Smith. Finally, and by no means least, mayoral candidate Anthony Zanowick. Now, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to be followed by the singing of the national anthem by the Bayonne High School Academy Ensemble. The pledge will be done by Kate Vorvor from Maris High School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
Thank you, students. Mayor Mark Smith, mayoral candidates James Davis and Anthony Zanowick, journalists, members of the media, residents of Bayonne, teachers, students, Rotarians. The Rotary Club of Bayonne is pleased to present the 2014 Bayonne mayoral candidate debate. This is our third staging of the event. The others were held in 2008 and 2010. Rotary is a worldwide organization of more than 1.2 million business, professional, and community leaders who help build goodwill and peace in the world, provide humanitarian service, and encourage high ethical standards in all vocations. Rotary clubs are non-political, non-religious, and open to all cultures, races, and creeds. I've been asked several times over the past few weeks, why would Rotary get involved in a political debate? The answer lies in the Rotary four-way test that is recited at Rotary meetings around the world. It goes like this. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These simple yet profound statements are the guiding principles that serve as a foundation for our relationships with each other and the actions we as Rotarians take in the world. Our motto in Rotary is service above self. Tonight's debate is just one of the many ways in which we strive to serve the community of Bayonne by providing a forum for our candidates to respond to questions and topics important to us all. Likewise, our 3 mayoral candidates are committed to serving us, the residents of Bayonne, in running for the job of mayor of this town. In the past weeks, I have interacted with the candidates and their teams, and I can say without hesitation that Bayonne should be proud of these fine gentlemen, all 3 of them. We are taping tonight's debate, and everyone will have a chance to see it several times in the coming weeks on Cablevision Channel 19. We will publish these times in the Bayonne Community News. In preparation for the debate, I ask that you refrain from speaking or applauding until the break and until the end of the debate. You are not allowed to tape any part of tonight's proceedings. And please, place your phones on silent now if you cannot turn them off completely. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the journalists asking the questions tonight. First, Joe Passantino from the Bayonne Community News. And Al Sullivan of the Jersey City Reporter. Rotarian Maureen Caswell is responsible for timekeeping. And Sal Monte, Rotarian, is our moderator for tonight. Sal is secretary of our club. I now turn the debate over to our moderator, Sal Monte.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, Bayonne's mayoral candidates, James Davis, Mark Smith, and Anthony Zanowick, have agreed to answer questions posed by journalist Al Sullivan of the Jersey City Reporter and Joe Passantino of the Bayonne Community News. None of the candidates were made aware of the questions beforehand. No one associated with organizing this debate has seen the questions, and neither I nor any member of the Bayonne Rotary Club has volunteered questions. They have 14 questions prepared. We're planning to ask probably 10 of them, and with the time allotted, it's going to be a very tight schedule. Tonight's debate will last for 2 hours, and there will be a 10-minute bio break at around 8:05 p.m. The order in which the candidates will respond was decided beforehand by a draw at which all candidates were represented. So the order of the candidates is Mr. Davis, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Zanowick, and the questions will be posed by the journalists to the panel, and then Mr. Davis, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Zanowick will then respond. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement to the audience and journalists. This will be followed by questions from the press and answers by each of the candidates in the order decided beforehand. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes to answer the question asked by the press. As the 2-minute answer comes to a close, you will be given a 10-second remaining sign with a show of our timekeeper's right hand. Maureen will raise her hand. When your time is up, the timekeeper will say, "Time's up." This is your signal to stop. Sounds pedantic, but that's what you got to do. When the candidate's answer to the question is completed, the other candidates will be allowed a 1 minute for rebuttal. I urge you to use this time wisely, because if we have too many rebuttals, we'll have less questions to ask. So please be conscious of the timing. At around 8:45 p.m., the journalist will be asked one last question of you, and Janice will indicate to the journalist at 8:45 when that's going to occur. At 8:55 p.m., I will ask each of you to address the journalist and the audience with your closing remarks. You will be allotted 5 minutes for this closing remark. Finally, before I ask the journalist to begin, I wish to remind the audience to hold all applause until the intermission. We really don't want to have applauses for every comment. It'll just drag it out too long. This is not a cheering squad contest. This is a serious debate where we want to hear the candidates' viewpoints and we want to have them respond to the press. So no taping, and we'll start the questions.
I've been selected to go first.
I think it's on.
It is on. Oh, there we go. The Bayonne Bridge reconstruction is costing residents several. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, excuse me.
That's right. I apologize.
Yeah.
That's why I'm the mayor.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, Mr. Davis, please.
Okay, I can start. How you doing, everyone? I'd like to start by thanking the Rotary Club, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Pastantino, everyone here tonight, especially our children, our students. You are our future, not just of Bayonne, but of our country. This coming election is paramount for the future of Bayonne. We can no longer sit idly by while this administration sells off our assets, continually raises our taxes, and allows our Broadway to wallow in decay. We must make decisions for our economic future based on the long term. No more short-sighted one-term deals to plug holes in a budget. Any development in our city must come with the idea of good-paying jobs for our citizens. It must support Broadway, not compete with it. We need jobs that our citizens can support themselves or help support a family. We don't need minimum wage jobs. We need a city hall that opens its doors to citizens and welcomes them. This can only be achieved with true transparency. At this point, I'd like to discuss two topics, get them off my chest, and get them on the record. I did not just move back to Bayonne this year to run against Mark Smith for mayor. In all fairness, don't flatter yourself, Mark. We've been friends a long time, and I wouldn't flatter myself with that. I moved back to Bayonne in 2001, but I never really did leave. My family, my children, my job, and my heart have always been here. Since I've been back, I have voted 10 times. I have voted in the last 2 mayor elections and our last 2 presidential elections. I was born and raised in our city, and it was a great place to grow up. And I want that same city for my 7-year-old son and for generations to come. I want Bayonne to be Bayonne again, a diverse community that embraces its values, our teachers, our workers, our neighborhoods, our children, and works to bring everyone together. Thank you.
Well, number one, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Rotary, I want to thank you as well for putting this evening together, and I hope it's an informative, lively discussion. Getting off my opening topics, just to respond to that, Jim, in 1988, when you spent $145,000 on a home in Broadway, you said that you couldn't afford to live in Bayonne. Well, we all know you and I were basically on the same pay grade, same pay scale in the City of Bayonne Police Department. And it didn't preclude me from buying a home in Bayonne and living my life here in Bayonne, never cutting and running, never leaving the friendly confines of the Peninsula City such as you did. So now that that's settled and squared away, and while you were doing that, you were buying other properties in Bayonne, but that's another story I'm sure we'll get to. I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here this evening. this evening should reveal some true facts and hopefully lead us all to the right conclusion. This election is about where we were as a community, where we are today, and where we're heading in the future. This is truly, right now, we're at the crossroads. 5 years ago, I took office because I was concerned about the city of Bayonne and the direction it was going in. And we came in and started a plan, a very sound fiscal plan. Live within your means, get away from the credit card mentality, expand your tax ratables and your tax base, and slow down and cut down municipal debt. By sticking to that plan, we have shown demonstrable results. So much so, March's edition of NJ Biz magazine claims the city of Bayonne the place to be for the next 10 years, to invest in, to buy real estate in, here, the city of Bayonne. Recognized just this week, U.S. News and World Report on our educational front. It's happening. It's demonstrable. But it happened because of the blood, sweat, and tears of many of you in this room who believe, like I do, the best days of this community are in front of us. We saw our future here a few moments ago, leading us in the anthem, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. That's our future. It's our obligation as leaders of this community, as parents and as citizens, to give them the very best. I stand here today, I sit here today, I ask for your support, and I ask for your vote for myself and for the entire Smith team, because the best is yet to come. And it's going to come by working with each and every one of you in this room, rolling up our sleeves, getting to work, making the hard decisions, not cutting and running, standing strong for Bayonne. God bless you all, and thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, everyone from all sides. I'd like to thank the Rotary Club, Janice Hall, Sal Monte, and other members of the press, Al, and Joe. Sorry, Joe. My opening statement, before I say that, I'd like to ask a question to everyone here in Bayonne. Is Bayonne better off than it was 6 years ago? I think that's a very important question. Okay, I'm seeking the office of Mayor of Bayonne because of my deep love and concern for the city. I would see an end to the downturn that the city has been in for several years. And that downturn is reversible if the proper actions are taken. They have to be taken in a timely manner. We have to be proactive, not reactive. We have to have development and the luring of new business into the city, which will bolster our tax base and provide jobs that pay a livable wage for our citizens. Other actions that must be taken are putting an end to the waste in the city's budget and an end to job duplication. Upon taking office, we will order a full audit of the city's finances. We will implement the use of efficiency experts to root out both the waste and job duplicity. Okay, we're going to be proactive, as I said, rather than reactive. We're going to solve problems as we see them emerging, not after they're already there. The people of Bayonne will enable us to make these positive changes in Bayonne. They are the only ones that on May 13th have the power to do so. It's in your hands. It's not in my hands. It's not Mayor Smith's hands or Captain Davis's hands. It's in the voters of Bayonne. They have the power. We're the only ones with positive ideas of change for the future. Mayor Smith has his plan. For 6 years, it hasn't worked. Mayor Davis has mirrored our plan. We are the only ones with a positive plan to change Bayonne for the future. We're the ones with a new and fresh approach, and the city should not settle for those who impersonate our campaign. We are the ones with these ideas and plans embedded in our hearts, and we are the ones who will effectively put them into action. Bayonne needs a positive change for the future, and we are the only choice for that change. The people of Bayonne have it within their power to send a powerful message to the city. Let your voice be heard. Let your vote make a difference on May 13th. Come out and vote for the Better Bayonne team. Support myself and my candidates that I have for City Council, and make that positive change that Bayonne needs in order to be the city that it should be, in order to flourish into that thriving city that Bayonne should be. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Let's try to keep the remarks impersonal if we can. Mr. Sullivan, will you start with the first question?
Okay, now, it is my turn, right? Okay. The Bayonne Bridge reconstruction is costing residents several ball fields, and there were originally plans to build a soccer field on the Military Ocean Terminal, which hasn't yet occurred. What would you do to increase recreational facilities for kids in Bayonne?
Who's that addressed to?
Mr. Davis?
Oh, I go first? Recreational facilities in Bayonne is a very touching situation for me. I have a 7-year-old. One of the things I want to see in Bayonne is a brand-new community center. I want a PAL to have its own building, a building where they can run their boxing program, their basketball program, their cheerleading program, and other programs, including their after-school. We need to identify other fields for our Little League. They've just lost a baseball field, 2 baseball fields actually, because of the bridge construction. We can utilize 11th Street. When it comes to soccer fields, I know I have spoken to the futsal people who run a soccer program with over 500 families in it. We also have the Bayonne Youth Soccer Association. It is time for them to have their own home. We need to identify land, bring that land together with the people that need these fields, come up with a plan, work with the companies inside our city, and develop the fields for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Well, while James is working on coming up with a plan, we've been effectively putting one into place. Veterans Stadium will be resurfaced, all AstroTurf, new drainage, new lights. We'll add a girls' softball field and a softball field in the one corner. We're going to refurbish the baseball diamond in the other corner and add bathrooms, dugouts, and a press box to that portion of the facility. All, I might add, at not 1 penny of cost to the taxpayers of the city of Bayonne. That's because of effective planning and executing that plan. I'm glad Jim is interested in having a rec center, because the Kaplan Corporation, who is the selected redeveloper of the Texaco property, which occurred some 10 years ago, we are forcing their hand and leveraging our position with them to get started. And before they can build their facility as a community benefit, we've negotiated and are negotiating with them for a community rec center, for an amphitheater, for 2 ball fields, and for a soccer field. This is something that is near and dear to me. I'm raising my children here in this community as well. Always have, always will. We understand how important it is. I'm very proud of our rec programs throughout the city of Bayonne as well. We instituted, under my leadership, we instituted a special needs children recreation program. And that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. It's important that our children get a great education. It's important that they have open fields and spaces to play so that they can grow. They can grow adequately in the way they should grow in a great city like the city of Bayonne. So, Al, in short answer to your question, we have prepared for that. We are working towards that goal with the Kaplan companies on First Street as to the amphitheater, as to the community center, as to the softball and softball fields and soccer fields, and we'll be underway very shortly. We have the money set aside, not 1 penny of cost, to redo Veterans Stadium to make that the premier field it should be.
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
Yes, we have plans for new recreation fields, particularly a large soccer field, which many people are asking for here in Bayonne. There isn't really a set soccer field for the use of soccer. We would like to invite other areas of the state to come here for tournaments. It would be something good for Bayonne, something different for Bayonne. We also need better softball fields and Little League fields. I understand downtown, where one of the fields had to be used, the lighting's not being paid for by the utilities. I believe we're having to pay for that ourselves. I think the utility company should take care of that, and the Port Authority that is forcing the field to be moved.
You're wrong, Anthony, but go ahead.
Sorry for the interruption. Okay, our plan, as Mr. Davis said, our own building for the PAL would be a great idea. That's how I grew up. The PAL had its own building. It was a great place to be. It's a great place for kids. There's more room, more activities, more areas of interest for all involved. It's a way to take the kids off the streets. We need something more like that. We need more recreation. We need a place where they can go, a place that they can focus their energies and their attentions and their time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In rebuttal to that, rebuttal to that, it's wonderful. Both of you gentlemen, it's wonderful. We all agree we need more fields. But none of my opponents offer a true plan to attain those fields as I just laid out to you.
Okay. Any other rebuttal? You good?
I'm good.
All right, Joe.
Vandalism is an issue in the city, including graffiti. This impacts the quality of life of residents. What will you do to deal with these problems?
You want to repeat the question?
I'm going first again.
Go ahead. Could you repeat the question?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Vandalism is an issue in the city, including graffiti. This impacts the quality of life of residents. What will you do to deal with these problems?
I'll tell you, it's something that we have been doing and we try to do as best we can. When vandalism is discovered in the morning, we try and get out there with our public works crews. And I'm proud of the work they do. And I have to say this in their defense. If you look at what we faced over the course of the past 5 years, superstorms, a tornado touching down on First Street, more snowstorms than I could ever care to talk about again for the rest of my life, and dealt with those situations more than admirably. And along with that, addressing situations such as getting to those areas that are vandalized, and they've really come down quite a bit because of an aggressive police department that we have. But we try to get out there and clean that up first thing in the morning. A lot of times when you see that in studies that have been done and you read it in policing journals or what have you, it's what they like to see later in the day. So if you can try and get it down early in the morning, first thing, and that's an approach that we've taken. Has it been 100% successful? No. It's going to happen. But we take it seriously, we address it. We've tried to channel some of those energies. My administration instituted the Bayonne Mural Project in conjunction with Samantha Howard, our CDBG director, community block grant director. We have a beautiful mural on the wall down at the park at 16th Street Park. The 18th Street and Avenue C Park did a beautiful mural on that wall. We're going to continue that program through our Parks and Recreation Department in conjunction with Sam Howard's department and try and channel those energies of these youngsters, and some of them, I have to say, are quite talented. Try and channel those energies into projects like that. And guess what? It's a dual purpose. It gives our youngsters some place to express their talents and do good things, and it allows them the opportunity to I won't call it vandalism, we'll call it art, but allows them to practice their craft. And so it's something we take very seriously. I'm proud of our efforts. I stand by the efforts of our police department, our public works department, and we're going to enhance and do better with our recreation aspects of it, as I said, through programs like the Mural Project, the Mural Program. And we have a great...
Time's up.
Time's up. Well, we'll continue somewhere down the road.
All right, since we've gone out of sequence, Mr. Zanowick, you can answer the question next.
Okay. Vandalism is a problem. One of the reasons it's a problem, not just the way it makes the city look, but it's also, much of it is gang associated. They tag different areas. I think it's important to crack down on this. We also need to have more emphasis on cracking down on gangs in Bayonne. There's been an infiltration of gangs into Bayonne from Jersey City, Newark, other areas. I think we need to be proactive on this, preemptive, and stop it before it starts. If you let the graffiti get out of hand, the gang activity increases, and that's when you run into even more problems. So it's not just, you know, the way it looks, it's what's behind it. And I think that's the main focus we need to deal with. Also think that crimes that are reported need to increase. A lot of crimes that happen in Bayonne never make it to the paper. People are unaware of what is going on in their own neighborhoods. There was a rash of burglaries a few months back, never reported. The store owners were completely unaware. They didn't know a couple of stores down that there was a break-in, or right around the corner there was a break-in. These things need to be reported so the public is aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
The best way to combat vandalism and our kids hanging out on street corners is to give them something to do. We have to keep our kids busy. It's nice that we now have a plan 6 years later to build new fields. We knew this problem existed 6 years ago. If we can keep our children busy, they will not find trouble. We need recreational programs for our kids. We need after-school programs and education programs for them to keep them busy, keep them off the street corners. I know what it's like. I grew up hanging out on a street corner. And when you get bored, when children get bored, they find trouble. It's just the nature of the beast. And it takes every one of us here, whether you're a parent, whether you're an educator, whether you're a police officer, or just a neighbor from the neighborhood. It all comes down for us to watch out for each other and to watch out for our own children. Thank you.
In rebuttal to that, Mr. Monti, I want to defend the Bayonne Police Department on this. Are there gangs of children? Sure there are. But there are no organized gangs operating in any criminal behavior in the city of Bayonne. And shame on you, Anthony, for trying to frighten people. Shame on you. I was wrong. And I'm gonna fight you on that one. And another thing, as far as my opponent, Mr. Davis, over here, again, he wonderful platitudes. What's the plan to accomplish it? And yeah, it does take 6 years, Jim. And it takes 6 years because I inherited a city on the verge of bankruptcy. And after 5 years of toiling in the vineyards, we're on the cusp of greatness here in the city of Bayonne. It takes time. And I'm proud to say I'm willing to spend another 4 years fighting this fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are gangs in Bayonne.
The audience is starting to have a cheerleading contest. We can't do that. We tried to have the candidates make their remarks without reinforcing applause because it just starts to become who can scream louder than the other person. It takes away from the dignity of the debate. So, Mr. Davis, continue rebuttal, please.
Thanks. I'll say it again. There are gangs in Bayonne. We have numerous gangs in Bayonne, and we do the best job we can to control them. We do have officers that are assigned to gang units that we send to school to handle this problem. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there are no gangs in Bayonne. There are gangs operating in Bayonne.
Shame on you, Jim.
Mr. Zanowicz?
Yes, there are gangs operating in Bayonne. I can name some of them: Latin Kings, Crips, Bloods. I can show you FBI reports that list this. It's not a lot of activity, but they are here, and we need to be proactive and preemptive against them.
Okay. All right. We've covered that subject. We'll move on, please.
Development is clearly on the rise on the east side of Bayonne near the light rail. But several projects were stalled on the west side during the recession, including the Baker property project on the High Hat site. What will you do to increase development in parts of the city where it is lacking?
Mr. Zanowicz.
Okay, we need to look at the city planning for that and see why those projects were stopped, why they were halted or delayed, and need to put more resources into that so that we're not just developing one side of our city. We have to also focus on the west side. We have to focus on Broadway, which is our main business area, our main street, center of town. If you let the center of your town deteriorate, the neighborhoods around it are going to deteriorate. That's one of our main focuses, is revitalizing Broadway. The mayor had six years to do it, and he hasn't done it. He's still making a promise to do it, and hopefully that promise comes true if he's still mayor. But we need a strong Broadway. We need a strong economy on Broadway. We need strong residences around Broadway. And we also do what we can, as Al just asked about the west side, building up on the west side. We have to look at, exactly what the plans were for that and exactly what happened, but we will get into that once we get into office. My main focus is Broadway.
Time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
Mr. Davis.
I would like to start with the redevelopment of Broadway. I would like to go from 22nd Street to 24th Street. And even though it's a 2-block area, it actually encompasses 12 blocks when you add Del Monte Drive and Church Lane. We can start off by redeveloping that area and making it a town center area for our citizens. Widen our sidewalks. make a little bit of a restaurant's row. Now on the weekends, we can close it down and make it a pedestrian walk. And we can bring in our artists with their kiosks and let them line the streets. Make a small amphitheater out of one of our parking lots. And we could have festivals there. All this is what is needed to get the people of Bayonne and the citizens of Bayonne to come to the town center. We have to realize nobody is going to come to Broadway and shop unless we start to. We have to be the ones who support Broadway. And once you can build a town and a town center where we enjoy going to, and we could bring back the old hometown fair at a much smaller venue. You can run festivals. That's when other developers will see that the city of Bayonne is changing and that the people love their city and they want a development. Then we can start from that point on going north and south on Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
You know what? 6 years is too long, and I'm impatient about it as well. But by providing stable leadership, by stabilizing our taxes, by creating a wider taxable tax base, by cutting our debt by 43%, because of what we have done by working a plan and sticking to it, responsible developers are now very interested in the city of Bayonne. Case in point, what we're talking about, Broadway. The Rendina Company of Jupiter, Florida. Do you think they would have came here 6 years ago, a town on the brink of bankruptcy? It wouldn't have happened. Anybody who's a businessman, anybody who's going to invest, you're not going to invest in something that quite perhaps is going to fail in the very near future. And so after 6 years of hard work, the Rendina Company is here willing to spend, and they are going to spend upwards of $80 million between the entirety of the block of Broadway from 23rd to 24th Street, and they're going vertical with retail on the bottom floor, professional office space going up, and it's happening. We just announced them as the conditional redeveloper yet 2 weeks ago. It's going to provide for 180 terrific, well-paying jobs right here in the city of Bayonne, irrespective of the hundreds of union construction build-out jobs for the city of Bayonne. As it relates to the Baker project, the original portion of your question, that project is in fact being revived, Al. We've been in talks with two groups actually, and we're now about to announce, hopefully within the next 4 to 5 months, the revival of that project. And there are projects happening all over the city of Bayonne, not just the east side. Go downtown to the Kaplan project. And they'll be breaking ground soon as well on the Texaco property to start those ball fields and rec center that I talk about. Take a little bit of a walk up Broadway. You'll get to Dodge Street. You'll see the Betts project going on there. High-end residential units, commercial on the first floor. Go to the Silk Lofts, the old Maidenform. My God, it's magnificent. Luxury residential right on the light rail. Several other projects announced upwards on Avenue E by the old Bayonne Plumbing Supply coming soon. And continue on up to the park at Broadway and 45th Street. Things are happening throughout the city of Bayonne, not only on the east side.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We shorted you a minute. You have another minute.
Okay, rebuttal. Okay. Mr. Smith, the taxes have not been stabilized in the city. In fact, over the last 6 years, taxes have gone up 26%. This despite taking in $295 million in sales and lease money from the MOTB. So why are we saying that taxes are stabilized? 26% in 6 years is not stable. That's a significant increase.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a rebuttal on this?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't take in $295 million in one shot. That's broken out over 30 years of the Port Authority deal. That's number one. When you take into account over the reductions that we received in state aid, increase in pension contributions, and the abhorrent number of tax appeals filed by a particular attorney here in the city of Bayonne, the true increase in the taxes in the city of Bayonne is actually about 3.5%. And we introduced 2 weeks ago at a council meeting a 0% tax increase for the citizens of the city of Bayonne. That's because we were able to cut debt 43%, able to get away from credit card mentality, able to live within our means. The city of Bayonne is on the verge of prosperity yet once again because of sound, strong leadership.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
Rebuttal?
Yes.
Okay, I can read off the numbers. 2008, $25 million came in from BLRA, $90 million from Ports America sale. 2009, $25 million from BLRA. 2010, $40 million Port Authority land sale. 2011, $35 million Port Authority land sale. 2012, $30 million Port Authority land sale. 2013, $30 million Port Authority land sale. And due in 2014 is the final $5 million on the Port Authority land sale. We will collect no taxes on that land ever again because it belongs to the Port Authority.
Is that the last $5 million payment?
Please no pause. Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Can I don't know about anybody else in this room, but my taxes did not go up 3% over the last 4 years. My taxes went up 26%. I deal in writing the checks in real money. No matter how you slice it, no matter what you say, our taxes went up 26%. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
Gateways to the city are important since they introduce visitors to Bayonne and its people. And yet the entrances on Avenue E and Kennedy Boulevard are particularly unattractive. What would you do to remedy the situation?
Can you repeat the question again, please? I'm sorry, Mr.
Repeat the
Pastantino.
question, please.
Gateways to the city are important since they introduce visitors to Bayonne and its people. And yet the entrances on Avenue E and Kennedy Boulevard are particularly unattractive. What would you do to remedy the situation?
Here's a good question. That is very true. You come off the turnpike, and I'm sure everybody here will get what I'm going to say. It is quite embarrassing. First thing you see when you come down onto Avenue E is an empty lot and then a broken down gas station. That should be part of our redevelopment plan. That is something we need to change the atmosphere of our city. You only get one chance at a first impression. And if we're going to build luxury apartments, then we need, when these people come to see these apartments, we need to show a little bit better and make Bayonne look a little bit nicer. Thank you.
I'm actually going to agree with Mr. Davis on that, and you know what? We've been working on that, and not that they would know, we're going to be redoing the entrance to the Turnpike exit 14A. That'll be entirely redone and enhanced, and there's going to be an entirely new traffic pattern there. And so that's going to happen. That gas station is actually, right now, there's a takings underway to take that gas station. The Turnpike Authority is actually going to take that gas station and incorporate that into that new entranceway for 14A. Along with that, with our plans, with our hard work and our dedication, look at the entranceway as you come up 53rd Street off of 14A. We have the brand-new TD Bank across the street from that. We have a brand-new Walgreens going in. And on that gas station block across from the Chandelier and Broadway Diner Restaurant, Investors Savings Bank will be breaking ground there within the next 2 to 3 weeks, are building a brand-new bank branch right there. So I couldn't agree more. We are dressing up the doorways to the city of Bayonne. We are enhancing the reputation of the city of Bayonne. That's because for the last 5 years, we've been doing the right things, living within our means, expanding our tax base, and now it's paying dividends, cutting debt. People are coming to Bayonne because they see there's prosperity on the way here. So it's happening. I couldn't agree with you more. I never thought I'd say that, James. But I agree with you absolutely, and we're well on the road to doing just that, dressing up our entranceways, the gateways, the portals to the city of Bayonne.
Thank you. Mrs. Zanowicz.
Well, I guess I have to agree also. I mean, it's obvious those areas need improvement, and I think there's different ways we can go about it, whether it's businesses there or possibly we can build it up with trees and things like that, just a welcome sight coming into the city instead of what we see there now. And why it's taken so many years to even consider this, I don't know. It's something that should have been sort of a priority, maybe not top on the list, but the entrance to your city should be somewhat attractive to welcome people in. Thank you.
Any rebuttal on this question? All good? Okay, Al?
This sort of relates to the previous answer. With the loss of urban enterprise zone funding and the takeover of town center operations, many of the events that used to attract people to Broadway are, are no longer held, such as the car show and other events. What would you do to restore some of these, not just to Midtown, but also to the other sections of Broadway?
Mr. Smith.
Al, it's something that we have been doing and concentrating on, and those responsibilities, that area of responsibility has been taken up by Terrence Malloy in his operation, the UEZ, and the Broadway merchants as well, and they've been very successful. And as a result of collapsing some of those departments, the savings that we recognized are enabling us to do some other things that are very important, such as the rebuild out of Veterans Stadium and a host of other recreational opportunities for our youngsters. Now, once we get moving and get started, then we could revisit car shows and kiosks if you want. Kiosks don't pay taxes, I can tell you that. Car shows don't pay taxes. Right now, we're still in the mode of preparing ourselves to be a vibrant community tomorrow. Listen, we were in a ditch as a community. Predecessors of ours came here, dug a ditch, dragged the city in, forgot to bring a ladder. We've been spending the last 5-6 years building a ladder. Now we're on solid ground, and we're building a strong foundation for a better tomorrow. But it takes time. We're getting there. That's something that we've never forgotten about and never will. And it's important. It's an important aspect of life in the city. Opportunities for the citizens to come together and gather together, and particularly when you have a diverse community, a beautiful community like the city of Bayonne. So it's something that is never always in our forefront of our thinking, and it's not something that we've ever forgotten about.
Okay, I think it's important to bring events to Broadway and to our parks. Get the community involved, get families involved, parents and their children together. Hometown fair should be brought back. There's no reason we can't bring it back. Car shows, we should look for sponsors, different businesses that would like to sponsor events like a car show or an art show, various things like that. We should give out more cafe licenses along Broadway. So we have cafes open to the public. When the weather is nice, people can stroll the avenue. We'll bring people in, people looking for something to eat, a meal, and then they can stroll Broadway and maybe shop some of the stores. This is something also that we should look toward doing. As far as other events, as the Bayonne Hometown Fair, art events, car shows, etc., we need to get the businesses involved, and the city can also sponsor some events too.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
My answer to that is exactly what I said earlier about the revitalization of Broadway. As far as kiosks not paying taxes or car shows, never said they did. What they do is they bring you to Broadway. And again, I will say this, that's where it all begins. It begins with all of you. We could put up the prettiest buildings in the world on Broadway, but if we don't attract you to come to Broadway and enjoy yourself, we've wasted our time and our money and our effort. It all comes down to us as a community. Once we become one community, we can support each other, we can support our Broadway. We can bring back our festivals. We can bring back our hometown fair. That's what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuttal, please.
It's a wonderful idea, and it's terrific, and that's what we're doing. We're taking a new approach to the revitalization of Broadway, but you have to do it one block at a time. People don't shop. It's impossible to sustain 3 miles of shopping. People are socialized different. We don't shop that way anymore. It's not that same society where dad is working and mom is home raising the kids, puts them in a carriage and walks up to Broadway to shop. And so we have to think in a different pattern. And that's what we're doing, and we're taking a block-by-block approach. We started with this block. Rendina of Jupiter, Florida is coming here and spending $80 million to revitalize that section of Broadway. With that success in my hip pocket, as a community, we're going to take that same philosophy and go block by block. and revitalize Broadway, commercial development downstairs, put people upstairs. That brings the boots on the ground onto the main shopping area, as my opponent here just talked about. But you have to have a plan. You just can't say you want to do things. You have to have a plan. We have a plan. We're working that plan, and it's successful.
Good. Next question, Joe.
A lot of the streets in Bayonne are dirty. Bayonne does have street cleaning on the main avenues, but not the cross streets. What can the city do to get the side streets clean again?
Okay, what we need to do,
Starting with Mr. Davis. Mark? Sanowik, okay.
sir. Okay. Litter is, of course, an important aspect when you're looking around town. No one wants to come into a town and see litter all over the place. No one wants to live in a town where there's litter all over the streets. We need to have a program, whether it's volunteer, maybe we can get the youth involved and volunteer and help their community in cleaning up the streets, but it needs to be done. We need to have the side streets done. We need to also get property owners involved in cleaning up in front of their properties. If the owner doesn't live there, we have to make someone responsible for it. We just can't have blight in front of houses or in front of a business on the main street. They have to take some responsibility for it themselves. We're all in this together. We all live here, whether we own or we rent. We have to take responsibility for that. And where it's not taken responsibility for by the individual, then city has to step in and clean up the problem.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Our streets and our Broadway look terrible. And it's easy to sit here and maybe blame Mark or blame his programs, but I'm not going to do that. Mark's not the one who walks outside and throws something on a piece of ground. It's up to you. It's up to me. We need to change the attitude of Bayonne. We need an atmosphere that resonates throughout our town. I will walk down Broadway and watch somebody come out of a store, drinking a can of soda, finish it, and drop it on the ground. There's nobody to blame but us. It's up to us as parents, again, as educators, as police officers, to take pride back in our own city. Is there stuff the city can do? Yes. We can do side street cleaning. Now, years ago we tried it. I know it was brought up and the people complained they didn't want summonses. So maybe we do where they go up and down the streets and go around the cars. Or we bring back the old days when I was little, you had the man with the garbage can, and he worked the areas, and you knew him by name, and he was in your neighborhood every single day. But to sit here and try and blame someone in our municipal government for our own failures isn't fair to anyone. Thank you.
Well, we have tried to do side street sweeping, and we did meet with some resistance from city residents. However, we reinstituted that program. And while we do not have a set standard that today on Mondays we'll do 19th to 23rd Street, what we do is when those sweepers finish their routes, they then proceed back down and then hit side streets as they can. And they're doing a fairly effective job. I will agree again, it's up to us to school, to educate our youngsters and our neighbors and friends about what litter does to a community. I will say this, I've had the opportunity in having a great working relationship with Dr. McGee and the Bayonne Board of Education. We've discussed a number of times, and she's implemented a course of action and has done some, at the younger grades, doing some blocks of instruction as it relates to litter and the results of litter in a community. So we've been proactive in that degree. Have we been great at it? No, but we're trying our best. Could we do better? Of course, you can always do better. But it's something that we do. We take care of our side streets. Again, it's not a programmatic attempt or a plan, if you will. But when our sweepers are done, their main routes, they do hit side streets. They work around parked vehicles. And we do have the man with the broom and the can in the central shopping district working Broadway. We do have that out there. So listen, could we do better? Yeah, we could. Absolutely we could.
Thank you. Excuse me, do you have a rebuttal on this? Any rebuttals?
No.
Next question.
Okay. Jersey City is in the process of branding itself as a destination venue. New Jersey towns like Cape May and Atlantic City have all created a niche for tourism. Can you think of any theme or idea that might attract tourist dollars to Bayonne?
Okay, we'll start out with Mr. Davis. This will be the last question, and then we'll have a 10-minute break. Who's? Excuse me? Problem? Well, we're trying to mix up the sequence. So, Mr. Davis, then Mr. Smith.
Let's just change the rules in the middle of the game.
They were supposed to go in
Is there a
order.
problem? All right,
I had the last question first.
oh, we're saying it's the last question before the break. That's all. You're up.
All right. Can I get you to repeat the question again, Al? I'm sorry.
Do you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. Jersey City is in the process of branding itself as a destination venue. New Jersey towns like Cape May and Atlantic City have already created their own niche for tourism. Can you think of any theme or idea that might help attract tourist dollars to Bayonne?
At this moment, with how Bayonne looks, no, I can't. Unless you want to call it the Sold Coast. Bayonne is far and away from being a destination. But that doesn't mean it can't be. It used to be. You could go anywhere in the world. If you went on vacation, no matter where you went, and got into conversation with someone and mentioned you were from Bayonne, somebody in that part of the world knew someone or had family that lived in Bayonne. This is the type of pride that we need to bring back. Bayonne needs a facelift. We need to change the direction we are going in. Now, I know we're being promised all this revitalization is happening now. It all started April 1st. And I, you know, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be funny about that. But we heard this in 2008. We heard it again in 2010. And here it is, 2014, and we're hearing it again. How long do we wait before we see a change? Thank you.
Well, you know what, Al, talk about branding the city of Bayonne, think about it. It's a peninsula surrounded by water. If you look at our city seal, it has a ship in the middle. And so for the last 6 years, and it's been 6 years of hard work, Jim, it truly has, and I'm not ashamed of it, and I'm going to continue to work hard for the citizens of the city of Bayonne. But as it relates to branding, think about it. The ship, seafaring town, maritime. So what are we doing? Royal Caribbean has agreed to invest $75 million to enhance, refurbish, expand their cruise port. They're going to sail 2 ships at a time out of the city of Bayonne. So we all read the story in the Jersey Journal. They're leaving. They're not leaving. No offense, Felix. 1 ship is not coming here. 1 ship, their big one, is not coming here. However, 6 other ships will be sailing out of the cruise port here into Bayonne with a $75 million investment by Royal Caribbean in the city of Bayonne, which will dovetail with the commercial development at Harbor Station South. 2 hotels, convention center, high-end shopping, boutiques, restaurants, amenities for us, for the citizens of the city of Bayonne. So in essence, because of sound planning, because of fiscal responsibility, because of the steps that we've taken in being proactive, and because we never gave up on Bayonne, we are branding Bayonne as the place to be. You can read about it. NJ Biz Magazine, Bayonne, the place to come. A beautiful community, one I have never given up on, one I will never give up on, and we're going to continue to fight together because it's that important.
Mrs. Analyst, applause, please.
Okay, the cruise port's a great thing, having the cruise ships come in, but those people are mainly leaving from here and coming back. They're not tourists coming in, which was the question. How we get tourists into Bayonne, or attract people into Bayonne, I think we need to, as I mentioned earlier, open up many cafe licenses along Broadway. That's a way to bring people in from the surrounding communities. Make it an area that people can come to, a restaurants row, lots of good restaurants, various ethnic foods, and draw people in with that, advertise that. It's very difficult to build up a resort-type atmosphere here, but there are ways of drawing people to the area with various businesses, and I think restaurants is one way to go.
In rebuttal to that, Anthony, I guess that's the whole idea of the reinvestment of Royal Caribbean, dovetailing that with the development at Harbor Station South, so that Bayonne does become that destination point, so that people, what they're doing now is they're staying in Hoboken, they're staying in Manhattan, they're staying in Newark Airport perhaps, flying into the cruise port and sailing out. When we get done with our vision, when we get done with our plan, Bayonne will be that tourist destination, so that they can come to Bayonne, stay in Bayonne at a high-end hotel, sail out of Bayonne, perhaps do some shopping here, come in a day or two before, take a ferry over to Manhattan to see a show, come back, have dinner, shop Bayonne. The idea, the branding out, is that Bayonne becomes the destination point, the place people are sailing in and out of, the place they're coming to. And then everybody will see what I see. Everybody will know what we all know, how spectacular, how wonderful, how magnificent this city is.
But the question is, will they be coming to the center of town, Broadway, or are they just going to be focused on the east side?
The development on the east side
leaving the center of town to continue to go downhill?
It begets the enhancement of Broadway. That's it. It's not one moving part. You have to concentrate on a number of different moving parts.
It's Mr. Zanowick's rebuttal, please.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
No, I just wanted to say, are we going to just bring it into the east side where this new development is taking place and neglect Broadway? I think Broadway needs to be a focus of that.
Okay. Mr. Davis?
In the words of one of the most famous Yankees of all time, Yogi Berra, this is deja vu all over again.
No applause, please.
I have seen this plan. I've heard this plan. In fact, in 2010, we were promised, I actually believed it, that it was going to happen on the base. And in 2011, the most destructive economic deal was struck for the city of Bayonne, and we sold our base to the Port Authority. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, you have another?
Yeah, that wasn't a destructive deal. We had a gun to our head. Had we not struck that deal with the Port Authority, taxes in the city of Bayonne would have went up 45%. It would have been unsustainable because the state was on the verge of coming in. And so that was a very effective deal. In fact, we got more money for that deal per acre, over $1 million per acre, than the Ports America deal, which was handled and done well before I came into office. Is it a deal I wanted to make? Absolutely not. But I had to worry about people like your parents on a fixed income, on a meager pension perhaps, people like my mom, 87 years old, on a pension, and a 45% tax increase for them and everybody else would have been irresponsible, immoral, and unsustainable for this community. Is it a deal I wanted to make? Absolutely not. The state of New Jersey had a gun to our head. We made the best deal, and I'll tell you what, it's bearing fruit today for us.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I don't buy that anybody had a gun to anybody's head. If we were going to sell our base, the easiest thing to do was to bring in developers. Give them 4 months to tell us how much they're going to pay for it, what they're going to do with it, and how much are we going to collect in tax ratables. Now we get nothing.
All right, Mr. Zanowick, one more rebuttal, and then we're going to break, and we'll be back at 8:15, okay?
Okay, just like to reiterate on that, that property should have been sold at top dollar, not bottom dollar.
It was sold at top dollar,
All right.
Anthony.
Thank you very much. We'll take a break. Thank you, everybody. We're going to start off with Joe Pasadino. Joe's going to ask the next question. And the order this time will be Mr. Smith, Mr. Zanowick, and Mr. Davis. The order of answer to the question by Joe will be Mr. Smith first, Mr. Zanowick second, and Mr. Davis third. Thank you. Joe?
It's the short one. What is your fondest memory of Bayonne?
My fondest memory of Bayonne is growing up here, going down Uncle Milty's with my father, going down Uncle Milty's with my mom and father on Sunday afternoons. Sometimes Uncle Johnny, when he was in from the service, would come with us, or Nuna would come down with us, and we'd walk down, and we'd spend a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon. And if I was lucky enough, my brother Jack or my brother Leo, or usually my brother Tommy was with me, or if my sister was in from nursing school, she'd join us down there as well. And it was just such a precious, sweet, pure time. And that's what this election is about. It's about restoring that belief in ourselves. It's about understanding the best is in front of us. The times change? Of course they do. Nothing stays the same. But anything worth having is worth fighting for. This community is worth fighting for because it matters and because we're entitled to it. And more importantly, my kids, Jim's kids, Anthony's kids, your children, your grandchildren, it's their birthright. It's their opportunity. I always called Bayonne the gem of Hudson County. One of the reasons is because of you folks and the 63,000 others at home. You're what make it special. That's what we're up here for. That's what I'm fighting for. That's why I'll never give up on this community. And that's why we've worked hard to date for the past 5 years, doing the right things, making tough decisions, sticking to them when perhaps they may have been unpopular, but they needed to be done so that future generations can have the memories I just spoke to you about, Al. So my fondest memories, there's a host of them, but they all revolve around my family and growing up in this beautiful community I call home. Always have called home, always will call home.
Time. Mr. Zenowicz.
Many fond memories of Bayonne, but if I had to single out the fondest, was discovering the Bayonne PAL boxing program. It gave me a purpose. It gave me something to do. It took me off the streets and from maybe being involved with the wrong people. Met a lot of good young men through that program. Guys that I see today, I still consider my brothers. There's a fine man, Joe Barisi, who ran that program. Many people still remember him. He was like a father to many, many young men. He's a great man. He instilled values in us. One thing he told us, always do the right thing. No matter what, do the right thing. Be a man, be a gentleman. That's what he instilled in us. And that's a very fond memory that I take with me to this day. And like I say, I still see many of the guys. Every so often I'll bump into them, and we're like brothers. And that was a bond that we had then. It's a bond that we still have now. And that was formed here in Bayonne. After having grown up in Jersey City, I moved here at the age of 14. A couple of years later is when I found the Bayonne PAL and was just amazed at what a great program it was, and that's why I still support that program today. Why I still support that program today. And I do think, as we said earlier, it deserves its own building so that it can expand and draw in more people and give them those kind of memories. That's my fondest memory of Bayonne.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
I guess I would have to say the first time my mother and father, who were sitting right here in the front row, took me and my sister to Uncle Milty's. When you walked into Uncle Milty's, I hope some of you are old enough to remember, there was a certain smell to it. You know, and it wasn't bad back then. I mean, it got worse as time went on. But it was popcorn, you know, and being a little kid, me and my sister, because we're only 10 and a half months apart, Irish twins, thanks, Mom. Walking in there together, me and her, and being able to go on a ride for the first time in your life was just completely insane. I thought I was in heaven. I thought when I went back to school at St. Andrews, I could tell the nuns, I just went to heaven. And my parents took me there, and it only cost a nickel to go on a ride. And just that one day, and there were many days after that, especially after a Little League game or something, my dad would take us over. But it was just that one day, and then having lunch. and I'll never forget it, on that part of Avenue C, if you remember, that used to jut out into the bay, and there was that restaurant, you know, and we sat there and ate and looked at the water, and I thought I was in heaven. I really thought I was in heaven. If this is what growing up was going to be about, I just wanted to stay where I was.
Time. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Davis. I don't think we have to have a rebuttal on your memories or feelings or emotions. You're in time. Al, you're up.
All right. In 2000, the city developed a master plan for what leaders saw Bayonne as becoming in the following decade. What do you see the future of Bayonne looking like if you are elected?
Okay, we're going to go with Mr. Zanowick, Mr. Davis, and then Mr. Smith.
If I'm elected, we're looking at a revitalized Broadway. We're looking at a continued development of the east side, looking at a community of solid citizens where everyone looks out for one another. That's the kind of town we need to have, the way Bayonne always was, community-oriented. We're also looking at lower taxes. We're looking at a better quality of life. You're looking at more recreation for your youth. You're looking at more businesses in the city that will pay livable wage jobs for our citizens. That's what we need, and that's what we'll be working for.
Mr. Davis.
I'd like to see Bayonne, and I think we'd all like to see Bayonne go back to the old days. That's probably not going to happen because we're getting older. But I'd like to see the city come together as a community. We are a much more diverse city than we've ever been in our history. And it's time to bring everybody to the table. It's time to open up that table, set up some extra seats, and bring everybody in. Our diversity needs to come out. We need to bring these people in. We need to assimilate to them and have them assimilate to us. This way, when we do have a St. Patrick's Day parade, we can include everyone to have something in that parade. And the same thing with the Columbus Day parade or the Hispanic Day parade. Then and only then will we start becoming a community together. Everyone needs to feel comfortable with each other. Again, we are very diverse. No one needs to be afraid of each other. But it might just take that olive branch with your neighbor that you stand up and say, hey, come on over. Let's have a barbecue. Bring your son over. Bring your daughter over. Let them play. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the true thing is kids don't see race. They don't see religion. You could put 5 different children in a room together and they will play. Because nobody sees anything. They live with rose-colored glasses on. And we need to do that for each other so that we can become better. Thank you.
Well, pause, please. Mr. Smith.
Yes, I think the question had to do with what is our visualization of the future of the city of Bayonne. And I see a revitalized city. I see a vibrant city. I see a seaport. I see Royal Caribbean with their investment of $70 million. I see the reinvestment, revitalization of Harbor Station South and Harbor Station North as well, being complementary to that seaport expansion. I see the revitalization of Broadway. The results, the proof is in the pudding. Those things are starting to happen, but it didn't happen overnight. It happened because of a dedicated team of folks. It happened because of the blood, sweat, and tears of the citizens of the city of Bayonne by working together, by making hard choices, and by sticking to our plan, cutting our debt, expanding our rateable base, living within our means, getting rid of that credit card mentality. And so now the demonstrable proofs are there. Again, and I'll go back to it, NJ Biz Magazine, this month's edition, Bayonne, the place to invest, the place to be. U.S. News and World Report referenced the city of Bayonne just this past week on the education front. Things are happening here. Good things are happening. Things you can actually see because of 5 years of dedicated hard work. And so I see a vibrant, thriving community here in the future. I see it as the natural extension, the last piece of the Gold Coast of Hudson County. And I see it as the gleaming, shining, as I always say, gem of Hudson County. That's what I see Bayonne. I see a magnificent community. I see a beautiful future. I saw that future in the faces of these youngsters that sang and gave the allegiance here today. And that's why I'm here, to ensure they get their birthright.
Thank you. Do we have a rebuttal on this question? Anybody have remarks? Next question, please. And we'll go in sequence this time. Mr. Davis will answer first, Mr. Smith second, Mr. Zanowicz third. Question.
Bayonne was historically an industrial town. For the most part, that has changed, but people still need jobs. What ways do you envision Bayonne creating jobs in the future?
We are surrounded by water. We are now stuck with the base being owned by Port Authority, or the most part of the base. If you take a ride down our Hook Road, most of our warehouses are empty. When we do development on the base, we need to bring in legitimate jobs. We have a port and we have empty warehouses. We need to bring those ports and those warehouses together to create jobs for our citizens. This is all about legitimacy. This is all about development. We should never sell another piece of property or give another tax abatement out unless it comes with jobs for our people, and not jobs that give us minimum wage. Jobs that people can support themselves or help support their family on, so that they can live in our city and prosper like the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yes, well, you know, I'm glad to say that we have a track record of creating jobs. And when you talk about what we've done here, you look at the union construction build-out of some of the things that we have done in the past 6 years. And I say that because it's vitally important. Bayonne is, per capita, the largest union-led household community in the state of New Jersey. So when labor works, when union works, our citizens work, they prosper, they thrive. We've created 111 businesses in the past 6 years. 6 years, excuse me. And there's more to come. But you can't just do this overnight. You can't do it by wishing, and you can't do it with empty promises or vague platitudes. It's done by hard work. It's done by making tough decisions. It's done by cutting debt by 43%, by living within your means, by creating an atmosphere that inspires developers, inspires business to come here. And we're seeing that happen now. I take umbrage when you talk about minimum wage jobs, Jim. You said it at the Hudson Reporter interview last week or 2 weeks ago when you said, oh, they're just Walmart jobs. You know what? They're important jobs. They're important jobs to the people that have them and need them. And I thought that was rather unfair and insensitive to you. You know what? We're creating jobs. We're working hard. And with the development of Harbor Station South, you're going to see those jobs coming here. You're going to see 180 high-end jobs with the development by Rendina companies of 23rd to 24th Street. It's part of this deal, an $80 million investment. And that's why they're coming here. They see the promise in the future in the city of Bayonne. They understand it. But we had to build a strong foundation to get there. It just doesn't happen because you wish development and you wish job creation. You can't do it without a plan. And we have developed a strong plan, a sound plan, and it's working. It's being seen by others. And they're now coming here to Bayonne to join in that prosperity. And so we've been working our plan along those lines. We'll continue to do that because it's proven successful. The proof is in the pudding. People are coming to Bayonne. They see what we have here.
Time. Mr. Zanowicz.
Where our plan differs from the mayor's plan, his plan is focusing on hotels and residences being built for the main part. These all put stresses on the infrastructure of the city. Our main focus is going to be luring jobs and businesses into the city. Industry, office jobs. There are many corporations in New York that would love to come to the side of the New York Harbor. That's going to be one of our main focuses. The mayor's plan includes putting almost 3,000 new residences, new homes on the east side. That's going to call for more schools, more police, more fire department, and that means higher taxes. We need new businesses that are going to pay taxes to be here and that are going to employ our residents. That's our focus. That's what we're going to push for. That's the way to make a better Bayonne.
Any rebuttals, please? Mr. Davis?
Mark keeps talking about the 111 businesses that have opened up during his administration. But for some reason, he never talks about the amount of businesses that have closed. If you drive up and down Broadway, there are 75 empty stores, not including lots. We were promised in 2009 that Broadway's revitalization was going to start. Here it is, 5 years later, and we're still waiting for it to start. Thank you.
Well, it's interesting, Jim, and that's wonderful to say. What's your plan? You keep knocking and throwing rocks. It's easy to throw rocks. It's a wonderful thing. Give us your plan. Give us an inkling of an original thought or an idea of how to attract business here. You don't have one. You've never articulated one, and that's okay. It's a wonderful thing. It's taken a long, hard time to get where we are. But I'll tell you what, it's not me saying it. Others are seeing it. Our bond rating, for the first time in a generation, Moody's moved our bond rating up. That didn't happen because we just wished it. It happened because we worked our plan, and we're going to continue to work our plan. And we're going to continue to be successful in spite of naysayers such as yourself.
Okay, just like to reiterate that the way to a better Bayonne is getting more businesses here, not more residents that are going to stress the infrastructure of the city, including the hospital. More residents, again, more police, more fire department, more medical services, more taxes. You need more business here.
Thank you. Next series of questions will be Mr. Smith first, Mr. Zanowicz second, and Mr. Davis third.
Okay, this is somewhat related to the last question. Vacant lots are a huge issue along Broadway. In particular, the site where the theater was supposed to be built on 21st Street. What will you do to deal with these properties and make them productive again?
Well, the first thing we did to beautify those lots that were like that was we did a city ordinance whereby those property owners had to cover them with that green fencing that you see to just try and make it a little more appealing, appeasing to the eye. That was the first thing we did. What we're doing is just what we're talking about, the Rendina Company, that operation, that focus on 23rd to 24th Street. It's taking Broadway block by block by block. So what did we do for the last 5 years? All the things I've been hammering home, making sure we're expanding our tax base, living within our means, cutting our debt. That allowed us to do the important things that we had to do. And that is when we then focused on Broadway, we were able to attract a company of international renown, such as the Rendina Company out of Jupiter, Florida, to come here and make the commitment to invest upwards of $80 million in the city of Bayonne. Now that we understand that success and we see what's going to happen there, retail shopping down below, professional office spaces up above, things that Anthony's talking about, things that Jim is talking about, we're doing that because we're working our plan. That's going to happen. And so we'll continue with that process. We'll continue with that game plan, that map, if you will. And my intention is to go block by block. And we'll get through this process. Is Broadway going to be 3 miles of shopping anymore? I doubt it highly. I think you'll see a nice shopping area under the bridge downtown in the First Ward. That's always been that way. I think that'll always stay that way. But we're going to have to reconfigure how we look at Broadway as a whole. And this is the start of it. And it doesn't mean there won't be other small businesses opening. We've opened 111 businesses in the city of Bayonne in the last 5 years. That's because those folks as well are taking a risk, putting their investment into the community, putting their investment in us, putting their trust in us, putting their futures in us. They see the potentials that are here, just as I do.
Mr. Zanowicz.
Okay, the empty lots are a problem, as we all know. They're a blight on the city. If they're individually owned properties, then we have to get after the property owners and see what they're doing with it. We also do have to call in developers from the outside and see what their plans are, how we can better develop that property. If it's city-owned, then the city has to take the first step, whether temporarily we can beautify it, make it a small park or something until we can have a better use for it, or maybe even that is a good use for that property, depending on its location. Could be an area where people can go in to relax on a nice day, have their lunch there, or, you know, this is if it's city-owned property. If it's not city-owned property, then again, it has to be redeveloped. We have to call developers in from the outside, see what the best plan would be for that particular area where it's set up.
Thank you. Any rebuttal on the question?
Yeah, as far as the property code maintenance,
I didn't get the
Mr.
answer.
Davis didn't get the answer.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Davis?
You could put a dress and lipstick on a pot-belly pig, and it's still a pot-belly pig. Putting a fence in front of vacant lots on Broadway is not making it beautiful. Some of these lots have been empty for a long time. Some of them have been here long before Mark has been the mayor. But I spoke with John that owns 21st Street and Broadway. In fact, it was 3 days ago. He also owns Garden State News, and he owns the old Community News building and the bar behind it, McFadden's. And he said to me that he's been calling City Hall and the mayor's office for 5 years and hasn't received a response back because he wants to develop his property. Now, I take him...
Time.
Truth of the matter is, John
I'm
has...
speaking.
It's time,
That's
Jim.
time.
It's time, James.
Sorry.
The truth of the
Time's up.
matter is, Mr. Munjabar wants to do some things that are not consistent with the zoning and code enforcement of that area, things that he cannot do. He's not gotten a response. He hasn't gotten the response he wants to hear, and there's a big difference. I don't think this is a time to be joking about pot-bellied pigs, but I want to get back to what Anthony said about property maintenance codes. My administration enacted and enforces, and we're very aggressive with the property maintenance code here in the city of Bayonne. I'm proud to say our zone inspectors and our people are out there writing those warnings, writing those summonses when need be, and appropriately addressing those situations throughout the city of Bayonne.
Thank you. Mr. Sanowick? No rebuttal. All right.
I can attest
We're
that
up-
the city inspectors and zoning officers have been out there. And anybody who has my signs on your house, I'm sure you can attest to it
Please,
too.
no response from the audience.
That was my rebuttal.
You finished, Mr. Davis?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We're on the next question, and we're going to go in order. Mr. Sanowick first, Mr. Davis second, and Mr. Smith third.
There has been some criticism of the administration for an agreement made for reduced energy costs by having the majority of residents switch over to a different company. Some have said there was no real choice given to them, just an opt-out box on the notification letter sent to them, which many missed. What is your stance on this issue?
My stance is that the person should have the choice of choosing their own energy provider. The city shouldn't be involved, simply. A lot of people I know said they were given no notice. They were just switched over. And to be honest with you, I never got a notice, an original notice. I got a second notice from PSE&G many weeks later. But I just felt it was unfair to the people. I think they should be able to choose their own energy company. I think they're intelligent enough to make their own choices, and the city should not be involved, period.
Mr. Davis.
The Tri-Energy deal had to do with one thing and one thing only, and that was to get money from Mark's campaign coffers. Rudy Garcia, 2 weeks after that deal was done, Rudy Garcia donated $25,000 to Mark, his campaign, and his PAC. No one should walk into your house and decide what bill you pay and to who. That's what this comes down to. No one should come in and tell us our personal finances. If we wanted to do that, if Mark wanted to do that, we should have been able to opt in, not opt out.
Well, if my counterparts here knew anything, the energy aggregation law was passed in the state of New Jersey several years ago. It was just amended again, and that allowed us the opportunity to buy in bulk. Nobody was switched out of PSE&G. In fact, you don't choose PSE&G. The Board of Public Utilities chooses PSE&G for you. PSE&G is still everybody's provider. That's what's important to understand here. Those who did not opt out of that plan, and this had nothing to do with Rudy Garcia, and you can say what you want about any of my donors, because in my elect report, I list everybody. I file on time, I file the appropriate reports, unlike others. The savings that those folks who stayed in the Tri-Eagle deal with, who stayed with them are going to realize savings of 10.9% on their energy bill. And it gets even better, because the Board of Public Utilities at their last meeting just jumped the rate up again. So beginning in June, those savings that you will realize will be 15% a year on your electric bill. That has nothing to do with campaign contributions or anything else. It has to do with helping the citizens of the city of Bayonne, trying to do right by you, looking at an available opportunity authorized by state law, and we entered into it. The biggest consortium in the state of New Jersey is the one that we initiated. Bayonne, Hawthorne, Harrison, and I think one other community. It escapes me now. But it gave us the buying power that when that energy auction came up, and PSE&G is always our provider, always will be, to get a 10.9% savings on your energy bill, on your electric bill. And in June, if you did not opt out and you're still in, you'll see a 15% savings. The only way to do it was to have everybody enlisted, enrolled in bulk, and give them the opportunity to opt out. And it's done under the authority of the state of New Jersey.
Time, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Smith. We have one more question to be asked before we have closing remarks. We're going to go in the order of Mr. Davis, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Zanowicz. Joe, you go.
When voters step into the booth on May 13th, why should they press the button next to your name?
Mr. Davis.
First. I'm sitting here today because I'm not Mark. I would never change your electric. In Latin, they call it quid pro quo. I'm good at managing people. It's what I've done for the past 18 years as a supervisor in the Bayonne Police Department. Being a mayor is managing the people around you. When you treat people good, when you treat people right, when you treat adults like adults, you will get work from them. They will work, they will literally run through walls for you. And as a police officer, as a supervisor, and as a commander, I will sit here and say you can talk to anybody that has worked with me, worked for me, or who I have worked with. And they will tell you that they would run through brick walls with me or for me. I just finished doing an investigation for 5 years with the FBI. And that investigation was going in 100 different directions. And nothing like holding the reins and sitting down with the people who work for you day in and day out and coming up with what's the game plan, guys? What do you have? What do you have? What do you have? Let's sit down. Let's get the information. Let's figure out what it is. Let's get our problems solved. When you involve everyone in problem solving, you get the most work from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
I think the question is why should somebody vote for Mark Smith and the entire Smith team? And I think it's very simple. What you see is what you get. Dedicated, hardworking people of this city, people who have never cut and run from the city, people who understand what it means to sacrifice for this city, people who understand you need a plan. You just can't talk in empty promises and vague platitudes and pretend everything is going to be okay. You know what? Are mistakes made? Of course they are. We're human beings. But this is about tomorrow. This is about where we started 5, 6 years ago, where we are today, leaps and bounds. Jim and Anthony throw rocks at me about, oh, it's taken 6 years. You know what? We've made more progress in 6 years. Think about this. It took Hoboken, Jersey City, downtown Jersey City, 30 years to get where they are. By leaps and bounds, we're doing it better here in Bayonne, and very simple. Stable, strong leadership, and the participation of you folks and those at home, because you realize what's at stake. What's at stake is our community. What's at stake is tomorrow. What's at stake is our future. What's at stake is a better Bayonne. That's the course that we set 6 years ago. We're not going to deviate. We're not going to change because it's working. It's demonstrable. NJ Biz Magazine says it. Moody's has raised our bond rating. They see it. U.S. News and World Report again this week has referenced the city of Bayonne for the progress it's making. That's because of our working together as a community. That's because of strong, stable leadership. That's because we've made the strong, hard decisions and stood strong and fast and never cut and run. And trust me, my friends, never will. That's why when you go in that booth, I ask each and every one of you, and I ask the citizens of Bayonne for your support and for your vote, for myself and for the entire Smith team.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. No, pause, please. Mr. Zanowick.
Okay, on May 13th, the reason you should come out and vote for the Zanowick team, the Better Bayonne team, is we're the one with the plan for new ideas. We have new ideas to bring in businesses, for jobs for Bayonne. We seek a better Bayonne. Myself and all of our council members that are running for council, we all are in agreement on our plans on lower taxes, contracting the teachers. We have a workable plan, which no one else has.
Oh, pause, please.
We put a workable plan out there that will work to contract the teachers. We also want transparency in city government. The city checkbook should be online. It's your tax money. It's not the city's money. It's your money. You should see where that money is going, and we will see that that is done. We're going to lower property taxes. We're going to do this through businesses coming into the city. We'll be collecting taxes from the businesses. It's going to allow for a percentage decrease on residents. That's why you should vote for the Better Bayonne team on May 13th. We're the ones with the plan. We're the ones that are going to work hard every day. I work 6 days a week. I deal with hundreds of people every single day. On a busy day, I could deal with over 1,000 people. I know what it is to work hard, and I'll be working hard every single day for the city of Bayonne. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zanowick. No applause, please. We have a rebuttal. Mr. Davis, do you have anything to say on this?
When it comes to our teachers, I will bring in state auditors to go over books of the Board of Education and also City Hall, and we will find wasteful spending. My first trip out of Bayonne will be to Trenton, and I will challenge the state for their drastic underfunding of our school district. I will lobby hard to get money for our school district. This is about our children. It's our education. It's why we need an elected school board. We need to take the politics out of our education.
No applause.
The best way to ensure politics in the classroom is to have an elected Board of Education, which I'm not opposed to. Never been asked if I supported it or not. Nobody's ever come to me to ask my opinion on it. And as far as going down to Trenton and demanding things, there's a little thing called the school funding formula, Jim, you need to get familiar with, but the rules evidently don't apply to you. So let's talk, let's really get this out in the open, and let's hit it. The situation with the teachers, you have a union leader who makes demands. Making demands is not negotiating. There's an offer on the table. There's $8 million sitting waiting for the teachers to get. It's their money. But this union leader refuses to bring that offer to the table. A year ago, sitting right on the stage, he was standing over here and he said to me, he is calling in state auditors. He is calling in the fact finder, and he did. 1,000 submissions from both sides submitted. The fact finder came back and said, you know what? That offer the city of Bayonne made, you should take, because the city can't afford 17.9%, which would equate to about $780 per household in additional taxes. But he changed the goalposts, and now we're in super conciliation. I urge both sides to settle that contract.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Zanowick?
Yes, what we need to do is streamline government. Streamline it, cut it down. The mayor claims to have cut the government down from 9 departments to 4, and that is true. But salaries are up $1.6 million over the previous year. That's not streamlining government. When we get in, we'll show you how to streamline government.
It's called contractual agreements.
Thank you very much. All right, you guys have done a real good job on trying to keep yourselves constrained within the framework of this debate. We've come to the close of the question period from the press. We now are going to go back to the original lottery draw. of Mr. Davis, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Zanowik. You have 5 minutes to make your closing remark. Go, Mr. Davis.
Oh, all right. I thought I was going last. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 6 years, our city has been neglected by this administration. There's no reason for us to believe that they're going to change their ways over the next 4 years. Thus, they cannot be trusted with the future of Bayonne. Ladies and gentlemen, they sold our military ocean terminal, and our taxes went up. They sold our water department, and our taxes went up. They haven't paid our teachers 1 red cent more than what they were making 4 years ago, and our taxes went up. They've collected close to $295 million over the last 4 years, and our taxes went up a staggering 26%. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look around Bayonne. Does that look like money well spent to you? Because it certainly doesn't to me. They even had the audacity to change our electric provider so that one of their friends can make a hefty commission off of us. And in return, they received $25,000 in contributions for their campaign. We cannot afford this selfish thinking anymore. No more blatant nepotism or cronyism that helps their family and friends. This is why we need an elected school board. Everyone sitting here today should have an equal opportunity, especially the students here, to work for our city without having to be related to someone or know someone.
No applause, please.
Every present city employee should have an equal opportunity to be promoted without having to be related to someone or to pay his way up with contributions. Ladies and gentlemen, I say to you, no more. It is time for a positive attitude, for a positive atmosphere to take over our city. You have enough pressure in your daily life. There's no place for bully politicians or bully politics or tactics in our city. It's time for our city to work for you. It is time for someone to bring us together as a community to improve our quality of life within our city, to give us more and better recreational facilities for our children. Bring back the pride that once resonated throughout our city. Change the direction the city is going in. We need to move in a direction that is positive for us, to give us a better today and a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you have 5 minutes to close.
I'll tell you what, I get accused of not being transparent, so I don't want any barrier between me and the people of the city of Bayonne. 5 years ago, I decided to run for the office of mayor in the city of Bayonne for a simple reason. I didn't like the potential of where this city would go. And I was very fortunate, I was very blessed. I was elected mayor of this great city. For 5 years, we've been doing things the right way. We came in with a plan. We worked that plan tirelessly, never deviated from it, and it's showing the appropriate results now. We inherited a bankrupt city, on the verge of bankruptcy, $380 million worth of debt, $34 million structural deficit. But because of the choices we made, because we worked that plan, we've eliminated over 43% of that debt load that we had. It's a lot of money. It allowed us to do some of the other important things, to expand our tax rate base, our tax rateable base. It allowed us to start to attract other business into the city of Bayonne. It allowed us to be attractive to others outside of here. It is yielding results, finally. Has it taken too long? Of course it has. Things just don't happen. They don't happen because you wish them to happen. They don't happen because you sit here and you talk, and I'll say it again, with empty promises and vague platitudes. I have yet to hear a real plan. Yeah, we should do this, we should do that. Okay. I wish Jim or Anthony would tell me, how do we do it? Well, I'll tell you what, we've been doing it. And I'm proud of the work we've done. And I take umbrage at some of the remarks of family members and what have you, but that's okay. You talk about transparency, and I made a joke and I came out here. Transparency is the buzzword when you don't have a plan or you don't have an idea of how to fix something. You throw that word out there. Well, I'll tell you what. The city of Bayonne is not only transparent, the city of Bayonne is on the cusp of greatness. It is so because of the people that are in this room and the people that habitate this great community. It is so because none of us gave up. None of us cut and ran and left this community and then decided to come back down the road, because we understand the potential and the greatness of this community, and it's worth the fight. I ask you, I tell this story all the time. People get mad at me. One of my political heroes was Thomas O'Neill, Tip O'Neill. And he lost his first election for council in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and he saw a neighbor of his, and he said, well, I lost, but I know you voted for me. And she said, no, Thomas, I didn't, because you never asked me. Well, I'm asking each and every one of you, and I'm asking every resident of the city of Bayonne to vote for myself and the entire Smith team for a very simple reason. Those children that we saw here today, and those faces that we have not yet seen that are going to be the residents of this great city, deserve it. It's our obligation to hand off to them a better Bayonne, to give to them the city that they can truly love the way we do, so that they can talk as one of those questions of fond memories. I take this opportunity once again to thank Rotary, thank my opponents for being here, to thank all of you, and to those at home that watch this. Thank you all. God bless you all.
No applause, please. Mr. Zanowicz. Please, quiet, quiet.
Okay, before my closing statement, just one correction. The city of Bayonne is not transparent. In fact, it was my campaign who forced transparency into Bayonne. Through a series of letters to the editor, we required that the budget be put online. It was not online at all for anyone to see. There's a rating service online that rates cities. Bayonne was given an F. Bayonne then put up in PDF format, which is not searchable, the budget of Bayonne. It was then raised to a rating of a D. I don't know what changes have been made since then, but 8 months ago, the budget of the city was not online. I'm going to touch on something that no one else has mentioned here tonight. Is the city residents downtown by the bridge, the noise pollution, air pollution that they're putting up with. Their grievances need to be addressed. And we urge them not to sign a legal waiver removing the right to sue. We encourage those residents to get together and take on the Port Authority through the legal system, and the city of Bayonne should assist them with that. That's something I think needs to be done. Those people have been abused down there. They've been given a minimal amount of support from the city. And I don't know if, well, actually from the Port Authority, the money has come from the Port Authority, and that is minimal. Those people down there are suffering, and they need to be helped. This city needs to change. We need more transparency. We need new people in office. We don't need repeat over and over, same people in office over and over again. We need change. We need new businesses in this city. We need more transparency. We need to contract out teachers. We need lower taxes. That's why on May 13th, I'm asking you to come out and vote for the Better Bayonne team and get this city moving in the right direction. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. This concludes the debate. There will be no rebuttals. Janice has to make some closing remarks, and we thank everybody today for being here. And I view this as a very successful event, and congratulations to all you people for the hard work you put in here.
On behalf of the Rotary Club of Bayonne, I wish to thank, first of all, the candidates, James Davis, Mark Smith, and Anthony Zanowicz, for participating tonight. Thank you, Joe Passantino and Al. Thank you for a wonderful job. Great questions. Members of the media, thank you for coming. The Bayonne Board of Education for creating and printing the program distributed at the door. And to you, the audience, thanks for being here. Don't forget to go out and vote May 13. Thank you all. Good night.